this is kind of like a gap year. I'm here in Taiwan to do the 1-year challenge, and I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to be with you all. As you know, today our topic is, what are you looking at? And I believe what we are looking at is sometimes our failures. First, I'm going to give you a little bit of backstory, and then I'll explain why. I grew up in Roswell, Georgia, which is a city above Atlanta. My home church is called the Northview Church, and like a lot of you, I've been around the church since I was born. Growing up in the church, I always felt like I needed to be a good kid. Ever since I was young, people would tell me a ton of good things, like, "You're such a good kid. You're gonna be a great disciple. And you can do such amazing things." And I became fueled by this admiration. But when I did something bad, or I messed up, I was told, "You need to be a better example. Other people look up to you, and you should know better. You're a good kid." Unknowingly, this put a pressure on me to feel like I always need to be great. I felt like if I didn't do the right things, adults would always tell me that they're a little disappointed in me, and I would feel like a failure. All of it kind of inadvertently created a fear of failure in my life. All of this kind of came together to create an image of a good kid. I always tried to cover up and appear like I wanted to do good and follow God and be a good leader, but I never really wanted it. I felt like so many people expected it from me, and if I didn't do it, I would let them all down. I never wanted to let my parents down. I would always try to get good grades in school, not because I was driven, but because I was afraid of not being enough. Because of this pressure and fear, I never felt like enough. I had a difficult time feeling like my parents were proud of me, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to perform at school and to be a good kid at church. Eventually, all of it became too much. I stopped trying as hard in school and just kind of embraced being a failure. I had meltdowns with my parents because I was confused why I always had expectations at church that I never asked for. And I was sad because I felt like everything was all my fault. But this all changed when I found Jesus. The first time I ever found a real reason to be a disciple was because I'd gone to Camp Swamp in the US, and I worked there for the entire summer. While I worked there, all the other people who were working were disciples, and I was so inspired by them because I saw something different than I had expected. I saw a lot of people who did not get lost in their mistakes because they just wanted to serve Jesus. And as I got to know Jesus, I started to understand what he wanted for my life. He didn't want me to feel so much pressure to be perfect. He wanted me to love him and to understand why. When I was able to just focus on loving Jesus, it made sense why we want to serve others. When I was able to look at Jesus, I was able to learn how to accept my parents' love and build real, better relationships with them. And now I have two scriptures. The first is Romans 5:8, and it says, "But God shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." The scripture says, while we were still sinners. Not after we fixed ourselves and became perfect. And I think that's so important because Jesus has always had this love for me, and he always has this love for you. And my second scripture is Hebrews 12:2. "And let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith." I love this scripture because it tells us that we can throw off our fears and worries and pursue Jesus. Jesus went through the cross so then we can be able to search for him and look for him and feel his love. I believe that when we are able to look to Jesus, we can set down all of our failures and understand his love. Thank you so much for listening.